Hi Leo, this is your forecast for the month of August 2018. This is a general reading for Leo Sun, Leo Rising, or Leo Moon. For a more rounded overview, please watch your rising and moon sign as well. So Leo, this first week you're starting off with air energy. This could be Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, male or female, or just the traits of this king. And this is going to be a week where you're very focused on who's in authority, who's got command, who's in control, who's making the decisions. And this is going to be a week where perhaps you're trying to get some sound advice, or you're trying to get to the truth of something, and you're trying to use balanced judgment in order to do so, because what you want this week most of all is some kind of fair outcome. And your ambitions are pushing things forward. You may be very aggressive, or you may be dealing with someone who is. You may have to assert yourself. So for some of you, you're involved in the justice system. You're dealing with a judge or a lawyer or somebody professional who can give you some advice to move forward. Someone who has some expertise. This is also a week where perhaps you're being very prudent. You're acting with the strength of your character. You're acting on your conviction. And in some cases, maybe you're getting a little bit too carried away in your head. You're out of touch with your emotions and your feelings. Because this is a week where, again, control is an issue. You want to be your own person. You don't want to be told what to do. You don't want any limitations put upon you. And you may not want to be close to people. You may be afraid of intimacy. Now, if you're getting some help from somebody, an advisor, this is somebody who is going to fight for your interests. This could be your father. It could be somebody representing you. Could be you're dealing with a government official, somebody who has the ability to make some kind of decision. Now, negatively, you're dealing with somebody who is exploitative. They're getting information and they're making unfair decisions. It could be that this is premeditated against you. There's some kind of prejudice or ruthlessness taking place. Or perhaps you're using poor judgment this week. Maybe you're suspicious about something, or there's some accusations being made, or somebody's viewing a situation through a bias, and perhaps you're dealing with issues of cruelty or somebody being very severe or tyrannical. So there could be a lust for power that creates some problems this week. Maybe you're involved in some legal problems or some actual violence or something, where somebody's trying to use some intimidation tactics. But this is about cutting something now. Maybe you're deciding you're going to cut some things out of your life, some kind of aspect of a situation that doesn't work for you. Maybe you're dealing with somebody where you're investing and yet you don't feel like you're getting anything out of the relationship. Maybe you're separating and you're not happy about that. Or, you're trying to control your situation and your perception of it is important. So you may be struggling with some decision making. Maybe, you're being very distant, or somebody is being distant from you. There's a lack of emotional understanding, maybe even some inaccurate perceptions, or, you're just not in it. You're not feeling it. Now, it could be that there's something that you want and you're asserting yourself. You're aggressively going after it. Or you want to do that, and yet you're hesitant for some reason. And that's handicapping you in some way. You don't want to make that first move. Or maybe you got involved with somebody and the attraction simply fizzled out. Or in some cases, as I said, this is some kind of professional arrangement where this person is interacting with you, you get the information, and then the relationship is over because they've given you whatever it is you needed. But for others of you, especially if the king is operating in his shadow, this is a week where you're going to find your interactions and your exchanges with others to be very challenging, very intense, or, unclear because you're giving off some mixed signals or vice versa. There's some surprise factor this week. Could be some unexpected news or somebody coming back into your life from the past or some unexpected encounter. And it could be that you need to change your perception about a situation and open up to some new possibilities. Now, the second week, you have a major card. So this is an important week for you. Maybe you were waiting for a decision from someone, or you were waiting to make a decision. So this could be a week where, again, control is an issue, and maybe you are defining yourself in terms of someone else and what their wishes are. It could be that you're not committed to anything, especially if there's some indecision. Now, this is a week where things may not be moving forward very quickly. You may feel as if you're hanging in limbo. And it could be just giving you some time to have a new perspective, to change the way you look at a situation. And maybe somebody's trying to change your mind about something, or you're trying to change their mind. But this is a week where you're taking your time, and it could feel like you're in a testing period. You're gaining some enlightenment. This is a week that has some lessons in store for you. And so, tapping into the spiritual may be important, or looking at something from a different angle. It may involve issues where there's a sacrifice being asked or some commitment needed, and you're going to have to be flexible. You're going to have to be adaptable and break away from the past. You're going to have to readjust to a new situation, because in some point you're at a crossroads. Things are at a standstill. And you may have to let go of something. There could be something unexpected within your domestic affairs, or maybe you're changing your career. And if somebody else is holding the authority, you may have to surrender to that opposing viewpoint. You may have to let go of your own personal will and desires. So it's important this week that you are objective, that you can see things clearly, because that's where you stand to gain. Your new perspective helps you make sense of a situation so that you can make peace with it, whatever it is. And it's likely to do with the past. You need to reevaluate something so that you can look toward the future. Now, it's likely that you're having this new perspective or changing your mind because of some situation that occurred in the past where perhaps you were disappointed, or you were betrayed or let down, or there was some deception or loss that you experienced. For some of you, you're handling things more effectively because you are dealing with a situation where there is compassion needed. Perhaps you need to make a sacrifice in some way. Maybe you're selflessly dedicating yourself to an important goal. Or maybe you are withdrawing from a situation so that you can think, contemplate, and meditate. For some of you, this may be a health issue. You may be dealing with a surgeon and a hospital patient, or decisions concerning a hospital patient, or perhaps somebody who's very spiritual. But this is a week where, if you are going with the flow, you're able to make some realistic decisions that can help you achieve your goals. And what it means is maintaining your composure in spite of whatever may be happening around you. Being very tranquil, getting in touch with that inner voice, listening to spirit, so that if you do encounter setbacks or some kind of delay, you have the composure to meet that. And perhaps in your world, there are people who are making unfair decisions, or they're operating through a bias, or you're dealing with some kind of injustice. And it's going to be important that you are true to yourself, that you don't feel guilt, that you don't allow them to undermine who you are, especially if you've been putting in true effort. So this is a week where you may have some kind of spiritual awakening. You may have a greater connection to nature or humanity, or you're recognizing the spiritual in your everyday practice. But for others of you, you're looking at where you're making some sacrifices that haven't been paying off very much. You haven't gotten a lot from it. You're not accomplishing anything, and whatever you're doing has no value. Especially if you are doubtful of yourself, maybe doubtful of your decisions. You may do what comes easiest. You may follow the path of least resistance, even though that's not the best thing for yourself or a situation. And because you have difficulty in decisions, or perhaps you're dealing with somebody who is aggressive, you may begin to repress your emotions and your frustration, and then it starts to crop up somewhere else. You start to take it out on people who have nothing to do with it, or you're meeting with that. So this is a week while perhaps there's not a whole lot going on. It's important that you deal with things that you can, because anytime you leave a loose end hanging, it's going to eventually come up somewhere else and you have to deal with it. So you may want to move towards something better. Maybe you want to handle things more effectively. But this is a week where you have to be diligent and vigilant, because you could very easily fall back on self-limiting behaviors, thinking, attitudes, and that's not going to serve you. So this is about being objective, getting some grounding right here, right now. Now, the third week, you have this great card. This is the card of victory. So maybe you're getting some kind of acclaim. Maybe you're moving forward on something. For some of you, maybe you were waiting to make a decision about traveling, or about a car, or about getting some kind of recognition of some sort. So this week could bring a victory for you. If you had a goal and you were waiting, this week maybe you've reached culmination. You put in the effort, you were waiting to see the results, and you feel inspired by what's occurring. You may be in the spotlight, or you may be dealing with somebody who is very prominent, very well known, maybe very attractive, good looking, charming, whatever. This could also be a week where you're waiting for some good news. You're waiting to make some progress. And again, you may get some type of victory, especially if you're willing to assist or work with others, because this is a victory that comes about expressly through the help of other people, people who are supportive of you. And there could be some things going on at work, at home, that give you some unexpected opportunities that will put you in the limelight and showcase your best qualities, whatever those are, your leadership, your devotion, your loyalty, your cooperation. And you're going to definitely come in contact with people who can advance your interests. Perhaps it's tied to that King of Swords. So you're going to be able to get quite a lot accomplished in a lot of different areas, because you are willing to have a reciprocal relationship of give and take in equal measure. Maybe you enlist the help, or you get the assistance of someone, or you offer to extend yourself in some way, and things seem to move forward more easily. So this could have to do with some stroke of good luck, something serendipitous. Maybe it's tied to your hopes, your dreams, or maybe you've been waiting for something and all of a sudden you get the results and they surpass your expectations. Again, could be some kind of unexpected gift or opportunity that shows up. But in some cases, there's a need to take action. Maybe you feel like you're on the losing end of a situation, and possibly because of a lack of confidence or some doubt. Maybe you're questioning what you're doing. You're having to change your perspective. Maybe you're waiting and the success is delayed, or you feel a sense of failure. Again, in some cases, you're actually dealing with some form of betrayal or some treachery. Or something that you're getting is just superficial. It's not what you thought. But in the positive, this is about you moving forward and coming in contact with people of influence who can open doors for you, and in unexpected ways. Now, the last week you have the World card, another major card, and the month is probably ending in such a way where you are not the deciding factor in a situation. Again, you have two cards in a row that really drive home the idea of winning, of achieving, of reaching a goal and feeling good about that. So for some of you, you're wrapping something up. Something is reaching a natural conclusion in the most positive way. You've gotten the best outcome. You feel a sense of success for a job well done. For others of you, this card is reiterating travel. Maybe you want to travel the world, or you're being recognized on the internet or with people at a distance. Maybe, this has to do with foreign affairs or dealing with people who are very foreign, whether that's from a different culture, a different philosophy, a different socioeconomic group. somebody whose beliefs are very different from yours. So this is a week where you're focused on some kind of change. You're closing a cycle out in order to open up new possibilities. And maybe there's some changes in your residence or your job. You're trying to create something that is ideal for yourself. You're trying to expand your horizons. But while you're doing this, you may feel like you're on top of the world, like you can do anything, but it's important for you to recognize what your limitations are, and if necessary, to say no to what is beyond your ability. Because again, the Hangman says that it's possible for you to make needless sacrifice and you're just a martyr for a cause and not getting anything out of it. So this is a week where you get to start over. There's a fresh chance for something, a second crack at something, and you may feel very enthusiastic about it. This is a week where you're looking at the past, where you've made the sacrifices, and you want to release yourself from bad habits, codependencies, emotional behaviors that don't serve you. And this is a great week for starting over, especially if you made those connections with people who can help you open doorways. You may be changing your attitude, your perspective, your environment, your health, your diet, your exercise, your job, your relationship. It's about starting all over fresh. For some of you, especially if there's been some injustice or something unfair, this is a week to put all that in the past, wipe it away, practice compassion and forgiveness so that you can move on and feel good about yourself, especially if somebody was playing that guilt card. So this is a week of taking the initiative, being a self-starter, because once again, you're going to meet with a couple of fortunate business or social or romantic connections that are going to drive some opportunities your way. And if you're feeling good about who you are and where you are, you will feel a sense of resolve about upholding these new decisions that you're making, whatever area. If you started a diet, you're likely to stick with it. If you're going to change a bad habit, you will feel motivated to follow through on that. Again, especially if you feel good about yourself. And this good feeling is going to coax opportunity to you. It's going to help you overcome challenge, deal with difficult people, and perhaps win over your opponents. Now, for some of you, again, if this was about health or a legal situation, you could be making some great progress. But for others of you, this is about scattering your energy. You're trying to do too much, be too much. Maybe you're in a rut, or you don't finish what you start, or maybe you even lost, and you lost because of a lack of confidence. So if that's the case, then this week it's going to be very challenging for you to move in a new direction. Once again, you could fall back into old habits, old ways of thinking, old ways of being. Maybe you have a goal, it's a valid goal, but your intentions are not right. And so you start it and it doesn't turn out the way you hoped. So this is about being tempted to go beyond what you are capable of, overextending yourself in whatever way, your budget, your time, your energy, your emotions, and also pushing emotional boundaries, using the King of Swords negatively and being aggressive or overly assertive or self-righteous, or not using your heart enough and only operating with your head. You may be coming up with some kind of shortcut or some kind of scheme that you think is going to work out, and yet it's destined to fail, or it's making people, not really trust you in what you're doing. So this is about creating some realistic goals that make you feel better about life. So it could be that, you need to invest in your dreams or some vision you had, or you simply need to get clear about reality and sort things out. Now, the underlying energy is this King of Cups. And so this is water energy. This could be Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising, male or female, or just the traits of this king. And this is an emotional king. He's very different than the King of Swords. In fact, because you have these two kings, there could be some conflict of interest, maybe between two actual people or your own inner goals. One is operating with his head and the other is operating with his heart. So you may be conflicted between logic and emotions. The King of Cups may represent your father or somebody that you're connected to who has some culture, some intelligence. Maybe he's very emotionally stable and you trust this person as a trusted advisor or counselor. He's listening. He's willing to protect you in some way, and is also willing to take on extra responsibility. So for some of you, this could be your ideal man. Now, he may be serving in a capacity where he is of service to others. He could be a judge, a lawyer, a doctor, a counselor, or just a good friend. Maybe you're involved in some kind of negotiation, or maybe you're involved with something creative. But this is about getting in touch with your emotions and, again, taking on extra responsibility, being protective, giving assistance. Now, if this is a person, he's likely to act in your interest. So this could be a month where you're focused on getting some good sound advice, taking responsibility, feeling protected, being concerned, or you offering that to other people. This is about having old-fashioned values and being supportive and respectful of each other. So the King of Cups can mean that, you recognize where you have been taking on too many sacrifices or shouldering too much of a burden, and you've been trying to carry this burden alone. You need that person of influence. You need those people who can help you open doors and move forward. And maybe you realize that there's someone in your life that you weren't giving much stock to, and you realize that you care more deeply for that person. And it's likely that they feel the same way. There's some opportunity in the offing for you. There's luck in your circumstances, some possibilities, and it may require that you take a risk. In other situations, you're looking at where you've overextended yourself, where you've gone too far, where you've pushed the boundaries, and maybe you need to be more frugal. And you could be dealing with people who create very complicated situations for you. Your interaction becomes less rewarding, and particularly if the king is acting in his shadow. He may be unfaithful, or he may not know how to have an intimate relationship because all he knows is how to operate through the King of Swords. Or, maybe he, puts somebody on a pedestal with the Six of Wands, and then he kicks the stool from up under them. So you may be dealing with somebody that's high-strung or very emotional or oversensitive, or maybe somebody's emotionally oblivious and insensitive. So it could be either end of the spectrum, but hopefully this is supportive energy. Now, at issue is that waiting for recognition, or waiting to travel, or waiting, to help, or waiting for some kind of assistance. And this is going to be an emotional month for you, where your moods are going to have an impact on your environment and how well you are adjusting to what's going on around you. And again, you're probably trying to culminate some effort that you've put forth. You have two major cards, the Hanged Man and the World. So you are waiting to travel, or to make a fresh start, or there's been some reversal connected to health, perhaps. You also have two kings, which means that your situation centers on a partnership, or it could be a profitable deal or contract, or again, those conflicting opinions. There's not very much stability or grounding within this reading. Now, it could be that somebody is flighty, there's some pie-in-the-sky notions, or simply that details have not been firmly worked out yet. It also connects to benefits that come through other people, favors. And there's a focus on your work, your productivity, your passion, your creativity. It seems that there's an outside factor that's going to step in and take control of a situation that up to this point has been going nowhere. Maybe even though you may have some clear goals, maybe you don't know how to execute those. There's a lack of direction. Or perhaps for some of you, there's even an inner resistance to meeting with success. Maybe you're afraid of success for whatever reason. For others of you, you're waiting because you need to understand there's something on the table, some goal, but you need to look at that and see, is that valid? And until you understand the validity of it, you don't want to follow through and move on it. And for others of you, it's either you or someone else in the mix who refuses to be hurried. Now, there is somebody that is stable, reliable, and yet whoever this person is, they're misunderstood, they're criticized. The only thing this person wants to do is offer support. They want to do the right thing, and yet they may be maligned in some way. For some of you, you're going to have to recognize that in spite of how strong you may be, how you see yourself, every now and then, everybody needs a little bit of help. All right, Leo, I hope you enjoyed this reading. Please subscribe. You can also join me on Patreon to receive extras, or at Instagram or at my blog for a daily post. And of course, you can always book a personal reading at thealchemistastrologer.com.